Once upon a time in the sunny little town of Gigglewood, there lived a boy named Chip. Chip loved racing his friends across the park, kicking soccer balls into the sky, and, most of all, groaning at his dad's endless supply of terrible jokes. One rainy Saturday afternoon, Chip's dad climbed down from the attic with a dusty old shoebox under his arm. "Chip, my boy," Dad said with a grin, "why do sneakers never get lost?" Chip sighed the sigh of 1,000 eye rolls. "I don't know, Dad. Why?" "Because they always follow their soul path." Dad chuckled so hard he nearly dropped the box. Inside the box were the most beautiful red sneakers Chip had ever seen. They shimmered like they'd borrowed light from the stars, and tiny golden lightning bolts danced along the laces. "Go on," Dad whispered. "Try them." The moment Chip laced them up, a warm tingle raced from his toes to the top of his head. He took one step, and whoosh! He zoomed across the living room, bounced lightly off the couch, twirled over the coffee table, and landed perfectly on the kitchen counter. "These shoes are magical!" Chip cried. And just like that, the greatest adventure of his life began. Chip dashed outside and found his best friend Nutmeg, the cleverest squirrel in Gigglewood. She wore a tiny detective hat made from an acorn cap and was always sniffing out the best adventures. "Chip, you're faster than a caffeinated cheetah," Nutmeg squeaked, scampering onto his shoulder. "Where are those speedy paws taking us today?" "To the Tickle-Tree Forest," Chip answered. "They say the great laughing oak in the very center grants one special wish to anyone brave enough to reach it." Nutmeg's tail fluffed up with excitement. "Then let's fly!" Here's Chip leaping joyfully over a sparkling river with Nutmeg riding along. The magical shoes carried them over bubbling streams, through fields of giggling wildflowers, and from treetop to treetop like bouncy kangaroos. Along the way, they swapped the silliest jokes they could think of. "Why don't eggs tell jokes?" Chip asked. "They'd crack up." Nutmeg finished, and they both tumbled into a pile of soft moss, laughing until their sides hurt. At last, they reached the heart of the forest. There stood the great laughing oak, tall and kind, its leaves shaped like hundreds of tiny smiling faces that rustled with gentle laughter whenever the breeze passed by. "Welcome, speedy Chip and clever Nutmeg," the tree said in a warm, booming voice. "You have journeyed far and true. You may have one wish." Chip looked at Nutmeg. She was twitching her tail nervously, watching a shy bunny and a grumpy badger peek from behind the roots. Chip thought about wishing for a lifetime supply of pizza, or a pet dragon, or shoes that never wore out. But then he remembered how Nutmeg sometimes looked sad when other animals chattered away, and she could only understand squirrels. "I wish," Chip said softly, "that Nutmeg could understand and talk to every animal in the forest, so she can have friends everywhere she goes." The great laughing oak's leaves shook with happy giggles. A shower of golden sparkles drifted down like warm summer snow. When the sparkles touched Nutmeg, her eyes grew wide and bright. She turned right away to the bunny. "Hello, I'm Nutmeg. Do you like carrots or clover best?" The bunny's ears perked up in surprise and delight. Soon she was chatting with the badger, the frogs by the pond, even a sleepy owl high in the branches. But as the sun began to dip low and paint the sky pink and orange, the shoes gave a soft little beep. The golden lightning bolts on the laces faded, one by one. A tiny voice whispered from the laces, "The magic lasts only until sunset, Chip. Then I become ordinary sneakers again." Chip's heart gave a small squeeze. He hadn't asked for anything for himself. Nutmeg scampered up and hugged his leg as tight as a squirrel can hug. "You gave me the biggest, best gift anyone ever could. I'll never be lonely again. That's worth more than all the sparkles in the world." Chip smiled, feeling lighter than ever. "You're right. Let's race home and tell Dad the best joke of all." They dashed back through the forest, laughing the whole way. Just as the last ray of sunlight slipped behind the hills, Chip skidded to a stop on his front porch. The shoes went dark and quiet, just plain red sneakers once more. Dad was waiting with 2 mugs of hot cocoa. "Well," he asked, "how were the shoes, champ?" Chip grinned bigger than ever. Dad, why did the magical shoes stop glowing? Dad raised an eyebrow. Why? Because they finally found their happy ending, and that's brighter than any sparkle. Dad laughed so hard he snorted cocoa out his nose. That's my boy, he said, pulling Chip into a giant hug. The best adventures aren't in the shoes. They're in the friends we make and the kindness we give. And from that day on, Chip didn't need magic to feel fast or special. He had Nutmeg, who now had friends in every corner of the forest, a dad full of terrible jokes, and a pair of red sneakers that still remembered how to make him smile. Here's the peaceful, happy moment they shared at the end of their big day. The end.